Hello, I'm a working mom in my 40s, raising my middle school son and trying to keep it all together. My days start in a blur, a frantic race to get myself ready for work, while also making sure my son has a decent breakfast. In the evenings, the two of us sit down at the dinner table and talk about our day, a small ritual that washes away the exhaustion. It might not seem like much, but I cherish these peaceful, ordinary moments more than words can say. It wasn't long ago that I went through something so devastating it was hard to function. But looking back now, I realize it wasn't a crisis, but another chance life gave me. If it hadn't happened, I'd probably still be living in that house, feeling unappreciated and taken for granted. Thinking about it brings a flood of mixed emotions. So, to sort through this complicated heart of mine and maybe offer a little comfort to anyone out there in a tough situation like I was, I decided to share my story. It all started a few years ago, on the day my husband, Michael, got his promotion. That morning, Michael, who I thought was destined to remain a senior analyst forever, called with the thrilling news that he'd been promoted to project manager. I was over the moon. I knew better than anyone how dedicated he was to his job. Late nights and working weekends were the norm for him. He endured demanding bosses and catered to difficult clients, gritting his teeth and pushing through it all. After years of being stuck in the same position, he had finally made it. That evening, I waited for him to come home, the table laden with all his favorite foods. I'd made a perfect pot roast, creamy garlic mashed potatoes, roasted asparagus, the works. It was a feast fit for a celebration. I even called our son Leo and made him promise to come home early. "Leo, honey, your dad got promoted to project manager today." "Whoa, for real?" "Yes, so let's all be here to celebrate. After your tutoring session, come straight home. No stopping at the library, okay?" True to his word, Leo came home early and even helped me set the table. But the guest of honor, the star of the evening, was nowhere to be seen. 6 p.m., turned to 7, then 8. We waited and waited, but he never showed, and he didn't answer his phone. By 9, Leo was starving, so I had him eat first. Worried, I kept calling. It was after 10 p.m. when he finally picked up. "Oh, I'm out with the team. You guys go ahead and sleep." That was all he said before hanging up. He must be out celebrating with his colleagues, I thought. He could have at least called sooner. All this food is cold now. I was a little annoyed, but it was his big day, so I decided to let it slide. That night, Michael didn't come home until after 2 a.m. I was woken by the sound of the front door opening, followed by a series of clumsy thuds in the living room. When I went out to check, I found him passed out on the sofa, completely drunk. His suit was a wrinkled mess, his tie loosened around his neck. With a sigh, I tried to help him up and guide him to our room. But as I got closer, I caught a scent that was unfamiliar. It was perfume. A woman's perfume. There was no mistaking it. At first, I tried to brush it off. I must be imagining things. Or maybe it's nothing. There must have been women at the party. You bump into people at a crowded bar, a scent can rub off. But a few days later, I found myself secretly checking his phone. I would never normally do something like that. I believe that even in a marriage, some privacy should be respected. But ever since that night, I started noticing strange things. Things I'd been blind to before. Whenever his phone rang, he'd scramble into another room to answer it. He even started taking it with him to the bathroom. I don't know when it started, but once I began paying attention, his behavior was deeply suspicious. Then one evening, he went to take a shower and left his phone on the coffee table. It must have been a mistake. I stared at it for a long time, my mind racing. Should I just ignore it? What if I find something that makes things worse? All sorts of thoughts swirled in my head, but before I knew it, my hand was already reaching for it. As expected, it was locked with a passcode. Biting my lip, I tried a few combinations I could think of. All of them were wrong. With each failed attempt, my heart sank deeper. But just then, a text notification lit up the screen, and I could read a preview of the message without unlocking the phone. The sender's name made my blood run cold. Chantel? Who the hell was Chantel? And why was there a heart emoji next to her name? Seeing that name, so obviously a woman's, a wave of dread washed over me. The message itself was even worse. "Last night's drive was amazing, handsome. Dream of me. When can we do it again? XOXO. That was all I could see. But even from that short snippet, it wasn't hard to guess the nature of their relationship. Suddenly, the world went dark. The years we had spent together flashed before my eyes like a movie reel. All that time, I had lived solely for my husband and my son. It all felt like a waste. I married in my late 20s, and now in my 40s, I had endured so much my mother-in-law's constant criticism, her endless complaints every holiday. What had I been fighting for? My hands were shaking so badly that I dropped the phone. Just then, Michael came out of the bathroom and saw me sitting there, stunned, and his phone on the floor. His face went pale. I took a sharp breath and asked, my voice trembling, "Who is Chantel?" "Honey." "About that." My own voice surprised me with how cold and steady it was. I should have been furious, but instead, I felt eerily calm. Looking back, that was the scariest part. It was as if my emotions had just shut down. Michael stammered, not knowing what to say. Well, just answer the question. Who is Chantel?" After a long, agonizing silence, he finally dropped to his knees. "I'm sorry. I messed up." "Who is she?" She's the CEO's daughter." For a moment I thought I had misheard. "What? The CEO's daughter?" "Yeah, she's Mr. Henderson's daughter. She just got back from studying abroad. I met her when she came to the office to see her dad, and one thing led to another." "One thing led to another? So you're having an affair?" At that, he looked offended and waved his hands dismissively. "An affair? No. It's not what you think. We've just been on a few dates, completely innocent." "Innocent? Don't insult my intelligence. Are you telling me I'm supposed to believe that? And since when is a married man going on dates with a young woman not an affair?" He hung his head, unable to answer. I stood there, looking down at him. The same man who had knelt before me all those years ago to ask for my hand in marriage was now on his knees, begging for forgiveness. The irony was suffocating. "How long has this been going on?" "About 2 months." 2 months? You've been lying to me and seeing her for 2 months? "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," he pleaded, grabbing my legs. "I'll end it. I swear I'll never see her again." I wanted to shove him away, but I didn't have the strength. I just stood there, numb, feeling our long marriage crumble into dust over a 2-month fling. That night, I didn't sleep in our room. I sat on the living room sofa all night, my mind a chaotic mess. What do I do? Should I divorce him? No, I can't. What about Leo? He's at such a sensitive age. Then, I thought of my mother-in-law, Evelyn. From the very beginning of our marriage, she had never approved of me, and honestly, the feeling was mutual. She was a woman obsessed with appearances and what other people thought. She always felt I wasn't good enough for her son, constantly nagging me about my family's lack of status or my state school education. "People these days are so self-absorbed," she'd say, "but you can't live in this world alone. You have to be mindful of how you present yourself. You can't do things that bring shame to the family. So please, try to dress a little better when you visit. My son's wife has nothing to boast about, and on top of that, you look like that. What will people think of me?" She criticized everything from my wedding contributions to my looks. So I figured that if she found out her son was having an affair, she wouldn't take my side, but she would certainly be furious with him and give him a piece of her mind. For someone so consumed with maintaining a respectable image, what could be more shameful than her son's infidelity? The next day, I went to her house. Trying my best to sound composed, I told her, "Evelyn, Michael is having an affair." Her face immediately soured. "What? An affair?" "Yes, with the CEO's daughter. He says it's been going on for about 2 months. Hearing this, Evelyn's eyes went wide, and for a long moment, she was speechless. I expected her to grab the phone and start yelling at Michael, or at least ask me for more details. But her reaction was completely unexpected. After sitting in silence with a hardened expression, she finally spoke. "The CEO's daughter, you say?" Her tone wasn't one of anger. In fact, I could have sworn her eyes lit up with a strange glint. She asked again, as if to confirm. "The CEO of the company he works for now?" "Yes, that's what he told me." A sense of foreboding crept over me, a feeling that something was terribly wrong wrapped around me like a cold blanket. "All right, you can go home for today," she said. "I'll talk to Michael myself and figure this out." "What's there to figure out? It's true. He confessed everything to me. He says he'll end it, but I'm worried he won't, so I came to you. I thought you could talk some sense into him." It would be a disaster if Leo finds out. I said I'll handle it, so just go home for now. I need time to think. This is all so sudden, my head is starting to hurt. I'll call you. Just go. She sent me away without another meaningful word. The whole way home, I had a knot in my stomach. Why did she react like that? Normally, she would be throwing a fit, screaming about how she can't show her face in public. Why was she so calm? I didn't know it then, but a sinister calculation was already taking place in her mind. I had no idea what kind of thunderbolt was about to strike me. A few days after my visit, Evelyn called me. "Sarah, I need you to come over tomorrow evening. We have to talk." That familiar sense of dread returned, and I tossed and turned all night. When I arrived at her house, I noticed an extra pair of shoes at the entrance. Looking up, I saw Michael sitting on the sofa next to his mother. I walked in slowly, confused, and sat across from them. Evelyn sat with her arms crossed, staring at me, while Michael wore an unreadable expression. This wasn't how I'd pictured it. Evelyn should have been scolding her son, not sitting beside him like an ally. Then, with a blank face, Evelyn spoke. "You two should just get a divorce." It felt like I'd been hit in the back of the head. "What? Evelyn, what did you just say?" "Are you deaf?" I said, "Get a divorce." "But Michael is the one who had the affair. Why are you telling me to get a divorce without even asking what I want?" Evelyn let out a deep sigh and looked me straight in the eye. I'll never forget that look. It was so greedy, so calculating, so cold. And with that look, she uttered words that will be burned into my memory forever. "What does your opinion matter? That ship has sailed. Michael's heart is already with that other woman. What's the point in holding on to a man who doesn't love you anymore? We'll give you the condo. Take it and walk away." "The condo? The one you're living in now." She slid a manila envelope across the coffee table towards me, a smug look on her face. "This isn't a bad deal for you. With real estate prices these days, it was a tough decision, but my son is going to inherit a company. What's one condo in comparison? Take the condo and sign the divorce papers." Time seemed to stop. I could see Evelyn's lips moving, but I couldn't hear a word she was saying. I just sat there in a daze before I finally managed to speak. "Evelyn, I don't understand what you're saying." "Oh, for heaven's sake, stop being so dense. Think about it. If our Michael remarries the CEO's daughter, he could end up taking over the company. My son, a CEO. I thought he'd be stuck working under someone for the rest of his life. But an opportunity like this has fallen into our laps. We can't let it go." That's insane. What CEO in their right mind would let his Ivy League-educated daughter marry a divorced man with a child? That's for them to decide. If Mr. Henderson didn't approve of Michael, why would he have promoted him? Use your head. The man was a senior analyst for years, and just 2 months after meeting the daughter, he's a project manager. It's obvious the CEO likes him. It's only a matter of time before Michael is running the whole show. I was speechless, but Evelyn was on a roll, her excitement growing. "And you're not losing out either. Instead of living a life of fighting and misery, you get a fully paid-off condo and a fresh start. It's better for Leo, too. It's healthier than watching his parents at each other's throats." "Evelyn, I've been married to your son for 15 years, and you think it's okay to just tell me to get a divorce like this? And I'm telling you, we're giving you the condo. What more do you want?" I bit my lip and turned to Michael. The man I had trusted, the man I believed would always be on my side, was just sitting there with his head down, silent as a stone. I gritted my teeth. "Don't you have anything to say?" Silence. "You told me you were sorry. You said you'd never see her again, and now you want a divorce?" Finally, he spoke. I've been thinking about it. And Mom's right. We should just end it." It was so absurd I had to laugh. "What?" "Think about it, Sarah. I'm over 40. I could have been a senior analyst for the rest of my life, but thanks to Chantel, I'm a manager. And what happens if I marry her? I could really become the CEO of this company. Am I supposed to throw away an opportunity like that because of you? So you're just going to throw me and Leo away? You heard my mom. The condo is yours. In fact, you can have all our assets. I don't need that pocket change anymore." "Pocket change? Michael, that's the money we saved, penny by penny, while raising our son. Do you remember how happy you were when we finally paid off the mortgage on that place?" "Of course I remember. And I remember how miserable it was, scraping and saving every dollar. That's exactly why I'm doing this. I want to live a different kind of life now." As he spoke, I could see the greed shining in his eyes, and in that moment, I knew he's crossed a line he can't come back from. The simple, hard-working man I married is gone for good. It was the same for his mother. She wasn't angry at her cheating son, she was thrilled he'd found a golden ticket. The moment she heard the words, CEO's daughter, her conscience flew out the window. She had coached her son, who had been on his knees begging for my forgiveness just days before, to brazenly ask for a divorce. In the face of ambition, his wife and child meant nothing. I felt sick to my stomach. I couldn't stay in that room a moment longer. Fighting to keep my composure, I stood up to leave. Michael saw me and asked impatiently, "Where are you going? You can't just leave. Give us an answer." "I need time to think." As I turned to leave, Evelyn's sharp voice cut through the air. "Think about what? Wasting time won't change anything. Let's not make this harder than it has to be. Just do as you're told." I didn't respond. I just walked out and headed home, her words echoing in my head. Her son would inherit the company, so a condo was nothing. A condo? We had been so happy when we finally bought that place. It was our home. And now, to them, our home, our family, it was all nothing. For the next few days, I walked around in a fog. Food had no taste. Sleep brought no rest. Michael continued to come home late, or rather, he just came home to sleep. He would sneak in after I was asleep, lay out a blanket on the floor, and be gone before I woke up. Should I really get a divorce? The thought consumed me, but I couldn't bring myself to make a decision. Even though he had cheated and turned into this greedy stranger, I couldn't just cut him out of my life after 15 years. And then there was Leo. How could I possibly tell my son that his parents were getting a divorce? The thought alone was paralyzing. But those two didn't even give me enough time to think. About a week later, Michael came home from work with Evelyn in tow. Thankfully, Leo had a late review session at his tutoring center that night. It was a small mercy. I couldn't bear the thought of him witnessing the ugly scene that was about to unfold. Evelyn stormed into the condo with a sour look on her face, Michael trailing behind her. Neither of them looked the least bit sorry. If anything, they looked annoyed, like they just wanted to get this over with. Evelyn plopped down on the sofa and barked, "Sarah, you still haven't given us an answer about what we discussed." "Evelyn, Michael said he'd give me a week. And I have been boiling with frustration, but I held my tongue. A week is up. Make a decision. We're busy people." She was so shamelessly entitled, like a debt collector. I sighed, looking at the ceiling. "What are you so busy with? Is someone chasing you to get a divorce?" "Of course we're busy. The sooner you sign the papers, the sooner my son can be single again. He needs to be able to see Chantel with a clean slate." "So you're in a rush to kick out the daughter-in-law who gave you a grandson, just so you can welcome a new one? Don't you feel the least bit bad for Leo?" Suddenly, Michael chimed in, "Don't worry about Leo. Of course you'll get full custody. And once I'm married to Chantel, I'll be able to give you more than enough in child support." "What? Are you seriously saying that right now?" "Look, Leo's a smart kid. Let's be honest. How much can a project manager's salary really provide for him? But if I remarry and take over the company, I can get him the best tutors, send him to the best schools. It's better for him in the long run." "You were always so obsessed with Leo, and now you're willing to abandon him just to get remarried? You're just handing me custody like you're getting rid of a burden. I bet she told you she'd marry you, but she won't raise your kid." "That's not it. I'm thinking of you. If I took him with me after the divorce, that would make me a real jerk." "Oh, spare me your fake concern. Leo has to grow up without a father in the house, and you think top-tier tutors are what matters? He's not losing his father. You and I are just splitting up. I'll always be Leo's dad. We'll see each other regularly." He spouted these shameless lines without a hint of hesitation. Barely suppressing the urge to curse him out, I turned to Evelyn. "Evelyn, I haven't made my decision yet. I need more time." Frustrated, Michael jumped in again. "I can't take this. Sarah, why are you dragging this out? Don't you get it? Or do you just have no pride? I don't want you anymore. I don't want to eat with you, I don't want to look at you, and I don't want to live this pathetic, penny-pinching life with you anymore. I'm trying to end this nicely. So why are you making it so difficult? And are you so sure she'll marry you if I divorce you?" "Of course. We're crazy about each other. She tells me every day how much she misses me. She sounds like a real piece of work." "Hey, don't you talk about her like that. Chantel isn't like that. She's so innocent. She's saving herself for marriage. What? Saving herself? That's right. I haven't even been able to properly hold her hand. That's how respectful I've been. Her father must appreciate that about me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not a couple of teenagers, but a woman in her 30s and a married man in his 40s, and he was claiming they hadn't even held hands? Who would believe that? And this husband of mine, so convinced of this ridiculous story that he was willing to give me all our assets just to divorce me, it was beyond absurd. Do you really think that's plausible? Are you sure about her feelings? You're not just chasing a fantasy, are you? Whether I'm chasing a fantasy or drinking poison is none of your business. You think I'd be doing this if I wasn't sure? Just shut up and sign the papers. We promised to get married, but my hands are tied because of my situation. You have no idea what you're talking about. At that, Evelyn glared at me. Exactly. The old car has to move for the new one to come in. You're just standing in the way. She probably feels guilty and is hesitating to move forward, even though they've already promised to marry. It's all your fault. To them, I was nothing more than an obstacle on their highway to success. Just then, Evelyn pulled something out of her purse and slapped it on the table. Sarah, let's be smart about this. These are the divorce papers and the deed transfer for the condo. I'll sign everything over to your name. Let's just sign everything at once and stop seeing each other. I turned my head and stared blankly at the documents. Then I looked up at Evelyn and Michael. Fine. I have no interest in holding on to a man who thinks life is something you can buy and sell. I'll sign. Tell your precious princess I wish her a long and happy life with you. Evelyn's face instantly brightened. So you're agreeing to the divorce? Yes, I'll do it. But like you promised, all assets are transferred to me. Of course. Good, you made the right choice. See? You're a smart girl. She pushed the papers towards me. Here, sign. I took the documents. Okay, then let's go to a lawyer's office and do it properly. Michael, who had been silent, piped up. A lawyer? Why do we need a lawyer for an amicable divorce? You broke your promise to be a faithful husband for life. How can I possibly trust you now? I need someone on my side. We'll do this in the presence of a lawyer. If you don't like it, the deal is off. Michael immediately backpedaled, trying to placate me. No, that's fine. A clean break is better for us too. Let's go. Let's go now. So we went downtown to a law office. There, with a lawyer verifying every step, we signed everything. The divorce agreement, the property transfer documents, and a consent form for the division of our savings and stocks. Once it was all done, Michael practically ran home, excitedly packing his things. As he left, I yelled after him, "Don't be late with the child support payments." He just laughed. Don't worry, once I'm CEO, child support will be pocket change. After he was gone, the silence of the condo descended on me, and reality finally hit. 15 years of marriage, over just like that. It left a bitter taste in my mouth. I was sitting there, numb, when Leo came home. I decided to be honest with him. Leo, your father and I are getting a divorce. He was silent for a long time, then let out a sigh. Dad did something wrong, didn't he? I knew something was weird around here lately. Was he cheating? My 15-year-old son asking me that, it left me speechless. But there was no fooling a kid as sharp as him. I nodded. Yes, your father made a mistake. Then I'm staying with you, Mom. I don't like Dad anyway. He's always snapping at you. I fought back tears. I'm sorry, Leo. I'm so sorry. Why are you sorry? Dad's the one who messed up. Don't worry, Mom. The two of us will be fine. Let Dad go find his happiness. I'm happiest here with you. He took my hand, and at the sight of my son, who I still thought of as a little boy, being so mature, the tears I had been holding back finally broke free. After that, I started looking for a job. It had been a long time, but I used to work at a bank. I quit when I was pregnant with Leo, after a scare that I might miscarry. After he was born, I fell into the role of a stay-at-home mom, and my career just ended. But now that I was divorced, I couldn't rely on Michael. I had to work. It wasn't easy with such a long gap in my resume, but thankfully, there were occasionally openings for experienced tellers or administrators. I managed to find a position more easily than I expected. The terms weren't as good as my old job, but with the child support and my salary, I knew we could live comfortably, and I could still provide Leo with everything he needed. But then, a problem arose. The child support payments, which had come in regularly for the first 2 months, suddenly stopped. At first, I thought maybe he was just late. I waited, but 1 month turned into 2, then 3. I couldn't wait any longer. I called Michael, but he didn't answer. I texted, but got no reply. Honestly, there wasn't much further for him to fall in my estimation, but his irresponsibility was infuriating. I had had enough. Fine, I thought. If you won't give it to me, I'll come and get it myself. You just wait. A few days later, I took a day off from the bank and went to Michael's office. It was a mid-sized tech company, but it was successful enough to have its own building in a nice corporate park downtown. On the subway ride there, I rehearsed what I would say. If I sound accusatory, he'll just get defensive. But I refuse to beg. I'll just tell him if he doesn't pay up. I'm taking legal action. By the time I arrived, it was just after 10 a.m. I took a deep breath and walked into the lobby, but I immediately sensed something was off. A crowd of people was gathered in one corner, buzzing. They all seemed to be employees, craning their necks to see what was going on. What's happening? Drawn by curiosity, I walked over. The crowd was too thick to see anything, so I squeezed my way towards the front, and then I saw a sight I could never have imagined. My former mother-in-law, Evelyn, was slapping a young woman across the face with all her might. I gasped, covering my mouth. I could hear Evelyn screaming, her voice echoing through the lobby. How dare you? How dare you lie to my son and ruin his life? Her face was beet red, and she was panting, completely unhinged. She looked like a madwoman. But the other woman was no pushover. Furious from the slap, she lunged at Evelyn, screaming, "You crazy old hag! You want to go to jail for assault?" She grabbed a fistful of Evelyn's neatly coiffed hair, turning it into a tangled mess. The two of them became a whirlwind of flailing limbs, pushing and pulling. 2 security guards rushed over to break them up, but the women were too worked up to be easily separated. "You con artist! You lying little tramp!" Evelyn shrieked. "You said you were the CEO's daughter. You're just some bar trash. Are you insane? Let go of me." "Yeah, I worked in a club. So what? Did you ever give me a dime to help me get by? You want a taste of what a woman who's seen it all can do? You still don't get it, do you? You destroyed my son's life and you have the nerve to run your mouth." I just stood there, watching in stunned silence. What is going on? Is that woman Chantel? From their argument, it seemed she was indeed the one who had caused our divorce. But a club girl? I couldn't make sense of it. Then I overheard 2 female employees whispering next to me. "Hey, that's Mr. Johnson's mother." "Michael Johnson? The project manager?" "Yeah, but he got fired today." "What? Fired? Why?" "The CEO called him in this morning and told him to pack his things. The reason is weird, though. Something about embezzlement. They're trying to keep it quiet so it doesn't leak." "So, you didn't hear it from me." "Embezzlement? Michael Johnson? No way. I used to work in his department. He might not be the nicest guy, but he'd never do something like that. He was a total company man, loyal to a fault." I was so shocked my jaw dropped. The man who had divorced me, so sure he was about to become the CEO's son-in-law, was now fired for embezzlement? None of this made any sense. "You never know," the first woman replied. "Maybe he was just pretending to be loyal while skimming off the top." "I don't know, it just doesn't add up. Why would they fire him right after promoting him?" "Good point. So is his mom here to protest her son getting fired?" "Maybe, but why is she hitting that woman? And what's this about the CEO's daughter?" "I have no idea. I've never seen that woman before. Is she supposed to be the CEO's daughter or a club girl?" "Definitely not the CEO's daughter. Didn't you hear? Mr. Henderson's real daughter, the one who was studying abroad, came by the office for lunch last week. I saw her when I was in the executive suite. She's the spitting image of her dad." "So that woman is not her. Did Mr. Henderson have another daughter?" "Nope, he only has one." "So that woman has to be the club girl." "Wow. So why is a club girl fighting with Michael Johnson's mom in our lobby?" That was exactly what I wanted to know. I had come here to get overdue child support, and instead, I had walked into a full-blown drama I couldn't comprehend. Just then, the security guards finally managed to pull the 2 women apart. Evelyn, her hair and clothes in disarray, panted and screamed, "You tricked my son. You pretended to be the CEO's daughter when you weren't. Why? What did you have against my son?" Suddenly, a piece of the puzzle clicked into place. The woman Michael believed was the CEO's daughter, the one he had destroyed his family for, was an imposter. Evelyn, on the verge of collapsing, continued to spew venom. "I know everything. You're living with the CEO. You were his mistress from the start. You pretended to be his daughter and got close to Michael to shut him up, didn't you?" "Whether I'm his daughter or his mistress is none of your business," the woman retorted coolly. "Your son got fired because he's an incompetent fool. Why are you taking it out on me? I was just trying to have a nice lunch. This is so annoying. My son wouldn't have thrown away his family and lost all his assets if you hadn't told him you'd marry him and make him CEO. It's all your fault. Take responsibility. Take responsibility for my son's life." "What? That's rich. When did I ever say I'd marry your son? Are you delusional? He was so pathetic, begging to see me, so I had a meal with him once or twice out of pity. Marriage? As if..." A collective gasp went through the crowd. Even the security guards, sweating and struggling to keep them apart, paused. The whispers around me grew louder. "What is she talking about? The CEO's mistress got close to Michael Johnson? This is crazy. You know, now that I look at her, she seems familiar. I think I saw her coming out of the CEO's office once. The executive assistant said she was just a client, but maybe not." My head was spinning. Chantel wasn't just an imposter, she was the CEO's mistress. It was beyond shocking. I was so confused and overwhelmed that I forgot all about why I had come. I just stood there, frozen. My head was throbbing, but one thing was crystal clear. Chantel was not the CEO's daughter, and my ex-husband, who had been preening about becoming the CEO's son-in-law, had been played for a fool. Even then, the woman continued to deny any serious relationship with Michael, while Evelyn sobbed and shrieked that she had ruined her son's life. It was obvious the woman was lying. I had seen the texts. She had clearly been leading him on. There was definitely more to this story. And the embezzlement charge felt wrong. Michael was spineless and cowardly, but he didn't have the guts for a crime like that. After 15 years of marriage, I knew that much. So what? He was framed? Good for him. Served him right. After all his bragging about becoming CEO, he gets played by the CEO's mistress and thrown out with a bogus criminal charge. It was clear I wouldn't be getting any child support today. I decided to pursue other methods and turned to leave. Behind me, I heard Evelyn's voice rise again. "Where do you think you're going, you witch? You're going to pay for my son's life." "Oh, yeah? I'm calling the police." "Go ahead, call them. I'll tell them everything about your fraud, and we'll see who's in the wrong." The security guards jumped back in. The employees started murmuring again, and the lobby descended back into chaos. I walked out of the building without looking back. Whatever was going on, it wasn't my problem anymore. The only thing that mattered to me now was getting the child support Leo was owed. So instead of confronting Michael, I decided to go through the courts. I contacted the lawyer who handled my divorce and started the process to enforce the payments. It was cleaner and more reliable. But a few days later, something unexpected happened. I got home from work and saw someone huddled on the ground in front of my condo door. At first, I couldn't tell who it was. Their hair was a mess, their clothes were rumpled and dirty. It wasn't until I got closer that I realized it was Michael. He looked awful. This pathetic figure was a world away from the arrogant man who, just a few months ago, was boasting about becoming CEO. "Michael, what are you doing here?" He looked up at my voice. His face was gaunt. He had lost so much weight. "Sarah, what are you doing here looking like a bum? What if Leo sees you?" "I had to talk to you." "Talk about what? I have nothing to say to you. Unless you're here to give me the back pay for child support, you can leave right now." "Sarah, please, just listen to me. I'm begging you." "Keep your voice down. The neighbors will hear." I gritted my teeth and reluctantly let him inside. I hated it, but I couldn't have him making a scene in the hallway. "Leo will be home from his tutoring soon, so make it quick." Michael collapsed onto the sofa and buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking with sobs. I was completely fooled. "About what?" "Chantel. She wasn't the CEO's daughter." "I know. I saw your mother's little performance in the lobby of your old office." His head snapped up. "You saw? You were there that day?" "Yes. You weren't answering your phone, so I went to get the child support money and got a front row seat to the freak show. Your mother slapping that woman, pulling her hair." He hung his head again. "Then you know. You know what a fool I was." I crossed my arms. "And what does that have to do with me? Whether you were fooled or not is no longer my problem. Just give me the money you owe. Please, just hear me out. I was set up. They used me from the very beginning." He started talking, his voice choked with tears. "I first met Chantel in the CEO's office. It was late. I had to stay behind to fix a report. Everyone else had gone home. You know how dedicated I was to that company. By the time I finished, it was after 10 p.m. I was going to leave the corrected report on the executive assistant's desk, so Mr. Henderson would see it first thing in the morning. As I was leaving the executive suite, he and Chantel came out of his office, laughing. I stared blankly at the wall, feigning disinterest, but he continued, lost in his own narrative. Mr. Henderson introduced her to me as his daughter, who had just returned from studying abroad. I knew he had one daughter, so I didn't suspect a thing. I just thought it was a father and daughter enjoying a late-night chat. But then, Chantel started contacting me, asking me to lunch, to the movies. A beautiful, rich, young woman was throwing herself at me. What man could resist? Especially the CEO's daughter. I snorted, but he didn't seem to notice. But then, a little while ago, the real daughter showed up at the office with her mother. You can't imagine how shocked I was. I did some digging and found out the truth. That tramp wasn't his daughter, she was his mistress. They even had an apartment together by the river. And why did she pretend to be his daughter and approach you? I was a little curious now, but I kept my voice flat, knowing he would tell me anyway. Sure enough, he gritted his teeth. The CEO was worried I had figured them out that night and that I might spread rumors. So he told Chantel to pretend to be his daughter to keep me close, to monitor me and make sure I didn't say anything. What? And you mistook that for love and divorced me for it? No wonder she wouldn't let you hold her hand. He probably told her you could look, but not touch. She was his property. You idiot. I had tried to stay detached, but his stupidity was just too much. I didn't know. She was so good to me. She always wanted to see me. She said yes when I talked about marriage. I really thought I was going to be the CEO's son-in-law. Were you blind? A CEO's daughter in her late 20s, throwing herself at a married, middle-aged analyst, and you didn't find that suspicious? You were nothing more than her glorified servant, carrying her shopping bags, saving herself for marriage? My ass, you weren't even treated like a human being. He nodded miserably. You're right, I was a fool. But I was set up. I wanted to show her, and her father, that I was serious, that I was all in. That's why I left my family. To show them I was willing to put everything on the line for her. But then the real daughter showed up. You have no idea the panic I felt. I went to Mr. Henderson, and he just threatened me, told me to keep my mouth shut. Threatened you? His fists clenched. He said if I breathed a word about Chantel, he would ruin me. He told me to just quietly leave the company. But it wasn't fair. I had lost my family, all my assets. I refused. So he framed me for embezzlement and kicked me out. He said he'd keep the embezzlement rumor inside the company if I went quietly, but if I made a fuss, he'd make sure I could never get another job in the industry. So you just packed your bags and left? What else could I do? If I was officially branded an embezzler, I'd be finished. I still have to make a living. But then Mom heard about it and lost her mind. She went to the office and blew everything up. Mr. Henderson had promised to keep it quiet if I just left, but because of Mom's scene, everyone at the office found out, and I guess his wife heard about it too. Of course she did. Did you think he could keep a mistress and a secret apartment forever? The truth always comes out. The problem is, his wife is the majority shareholder. The company was originally her family's. He was just the guy who married the boss's daughter. So she kicked him out, and I heard she completely ruined Chantel too. Good for her. Sounds like everyone got what they deserved. But what does any of this have to do with me? Your revenge was served up on a silver platter by the CEO's wife. No, because I got caught in the crossfire. They made the embezzlement charges stick. Now I'm blacklisted. I can't get a job anywhere in this field. So, Sarah, please, take me back. I was wrong. I swear, I'll spend the rest of my life living for you and Leo. I swear it. He suddenly threw himself on the floor, pressing his forehead to the ground in a full bow. But all that came out of my mouth was venom. Are you out of your mind? Are you seriously saying this to me? You heard me. I never even had a real relationship with her. We just had meals, went to the movies. I followed her around while she shopped. I was just her glorified errand boy. It wasn't even a real affair, was it? I stared down at him for a long moment. For that not a real affair, you and your mother put me through hell. For that insignificant relationship, you destroyed our 15-year marriage and abandoned your son. And now you want me to take you back because it wasn't a real affair? Get out of my house. He kept pleading his case, but I felt no pity, only a chilling disgust at his boundless audacity. Sarah, please. Don't you dare call me that. You are nothing to me. Our connection was severed a long time ago, so instead of wasting your time here, go beg on a street corner somewhere. And don't worry, I will get every last cent of that child support one way or another. I threw open the front door. Get out, before Leo gets home. Stunned by my ferocity, Michael staggered to his feet. As he reached the door, he turned back. Sarah, can't you just think about it one more time? For Leo's sake? Shut up. For old time's sake, I won't tell him the details, so just disappear quietly. But don't test my patience. If you push me, I will make it so you can never show your face to him again. Do you think he'll even see you as human when he finds out his own father abandoned him while chasing a pathetic, idiotic fantasy? With that, I slammed the door in his face. But my ordeal with that family wasn't over. After the son, the mother came begging. One night, I was coming home late from work when I found Evelyn waiting for me. She ran up to me, crying and making a scene. Sarah, Leo's mother, I was wrong. My life is in shambles. That witch, after the CEO's wife took all her money, she came after me. She sued me for assault for that one slap. She said if I didn't pay a settlement, she'd press charges and I'd go to jail. I had to sell my house to pay her off. I was surprised, but I tried not to show it. But just like her son, she was only capable of seeing her own side of the story. Michael has been blacklisted. He had to move to a small town in the middle of nowhere just to get a temp job at a factory. I used what little money was left to get a small place and moved down there with him. But I don't know what I'm doing with my life, cooking for my grown son in some strange town at my age. Please, Sarah, for old time's sake. I just walked into my condo and shut the door. I didn't even have the energy to respond. But she wasn't one to give up. She started making trips up to the city just to harass me. Sarah, you were never like this. Have a heart, please. You ungrateful brat. How dare you slam the door on your son's grandmother? This is all your fault. If you hadn't agreed to the divorce so easily, none of this would have happened. You should have fought harder. She would beg, then yell, then cry. One day Leo came home from school to find her screaming at our door, and he was terrified. After several warnings, I finally had to call the police and get a restraining order. We also decided to move. I was sad to leave the home we'd lived in for so long, but to my surprise, Leo was excited about the idea of living somewhere new. So, we sold the condo and found a new place to call home. Even though it was a move born out of necessity, once we were settled, it felt like a real fresh start. I was filled with a sense of hope and excitement for the future. These days, my son and I are trying to forget the dark, painful past and focus only on the happy future ahead of us. I hope that you, too, can offer a word of warm encouragement for me and my son as we start this new chapter. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you all a wonderful day.